How to draw a flower. I will have several different handouts of different kinds of flowers for you to practice. But please know, these step-by-steps that you see are just a guide. Try your best. Get close to the shapes that you see. This is just a guide and it doesn't have to look exactly like that. Here's a Calla Lily and you can see it starts with just a simple line and then it builds on itself. You should be using a pencil because of that. You might be doing some erasing as you go. Again, my flower does not have to look exactly like this. I will use it as a guide to help me get the shapes. The beautiful part about nature is not any single petal is the same. They're all unique and different from one another. In my card, I'm going to be drawing a rose. First, I'm going to follow this how to draw. I will be practicing on sketch paper first, but you can draw right in your card as long as you have pencil. The first step is to draw the shape of an oval. I'm drawing a long, skinny oval that looks like a little caterpillar or a little hot dog. And then from there, the shape of a bell, which is a curve in and back out again. A curve in and back out again. And oops, this bell doesn't look the same as that one. And that's fine with me. Remember, if you're not happy with something, you have a pencil, you can erase. The next step. That just doesn't seem possible going from this step all the way to that one, right? That's why some of these how to draws can be a little frustrating because it doesn't really show you how to go to some of the steps. How am I supposed to do that? Instead, I'm just gonna look at the shapes that I see and not worry about it. This shape almost looks like a raindrop, doesn't it? I'm gonna draw that right here. And this shape looks like it's a raindrop too, but it goes underneath that one. Watch. I'm just gonna draw a curved line and stop when it bumps up against that. There we go, now I'm starting to get somewhere. I see what's going on here, they're little points. So I'm going to draw another point that looks like this one. And then another on the other side, and I see I'm gonna have to erase some of those lines there. Those must have just been my guidelines. That's why you draw light till you get it right, just like my artists in your studio Panthers palette might know. Now in the back part, my goodness gracious, how am I supposed to get to all of that? What is all that? I can't draw that in one step. So I'm gonna show you a simple way. Start with one of my favorite things to draw, a swirl or a spiral. Boop, and I just stop when I bump up against the points that I drew. And it looks like there's petals in the back here. I'm gonna draw those too. And then I'm gonna erase the stuff that I don't want. So you can see I followed along, but it doesn't look the exact same. Here might be an easier way for you to draw a rose. Start with the spiral because that's at the top. And I'm gonna draw the spiral around. Instead of ending it back up at the top, I'm gonna bring it on down to where the bottom of the rose would be. And then I'm gonna take this line and I'm gonna bring it on back up and end it there. Here's my spiral. On the inside of the spiral, I'm gonna follow my line and bring it on down here. And then I'm gonna add a petal. So you can see roses. The purpose of these how to draw roses is it just shows you that they grow from the center. They grow from the spiral. And then how you draw the petals around it is up to you. Maybe I'll add another petal here. It's starting to look like a rose to me. Maybe I want this petal to go in front. And I'll bring it down on the side here and erase this little bit. You can see I'm just growing my rose the way I want to grow it because this is called an organic shape, meaning it is not a shape I can put a name to. The thing I need to understand about flowers is how they're built. See underneath the rose? That's the stem that it grows out of. And I'm going to draw these leaves here. That will help my rose look more like a rose. So our Earth Day week, we talked about drawing from observation, and that's what I'm doing here. I'm looking closely, observing the things I might need to know about my rose. Down here is where the bud would have grown, and it's usually a little thicker than the rest of the stem. See how the rose looks like it bloomed out of it? That's me just understanding how the flower grows and observing the small details that I notice. And then the stem grows from there. All flowers have different shaped leaves. The rose leaves look like the shape of a football. and they grow in threes. So I'm going to draw my stem. The stem is not one line, it's two because it's a shape. And then from there, my first leaf, a frowny face and a smiley face, just like the eyes of our portrait that we drew last week. The whole world is made up of shapes. And once I understand how to draw my shapes, I can draw the world. It all begins with me trying and me not being afraid to mess up. One thing that scientists do is observe the way the leaf veins grow from each other. And you can see these ones are right next to each other. Some leaves, the pattern is alternating, like this. So paying attention to little things like that, that's how I learn about the world and how I can learn to draw it. Also, my lines curve because my leaf is curved. It's not a straight thing. It curls around. If I drew it straight like this, my leaf might not look as real. Now this flower here would have fit really nicely inside my heart, don't you think? Let's draw a different flower inside my heart. I'll do a Calla Lily. Remember, these are just guidelines. I'm going to look at them, I'm going to draw light, just in case I want to erase, but I'm not going to worry about making it exactly perfect. So I drew that shape. The next step is to add on to it. I see that I would add on to the top here, and it goes right off my heart, so I'm going to skip over it. A bump. Look, the next step is to add on down here. That starts underneath this curve, underneath the curve. Add on. And now I add on here. It's hard to go from this step to this step. So I'm going to do the best I can, change the shapes I need to. Until I'm happy with what I have. It kind of looks like a Calla Lily. Maybe if I change this line and make it more curved. And this line I'm going to bring in more. There, I'm more happy with that. Now I see this stem starts out a little wider and goes straight down. And this leaf looks different. It's long and pointy. Well, that's a nice thing. This could use a little more detail, maybe some thick lines around it and color inside. Maybe I can write a message here to somebody I care about or draw more flowers. Let's draw this cone flower. I see it starts with a triangle and then a weird shape that kind of looks like a UFO. Now my triangle gets curved a little bit. So you can see I'm gonna have to change some of that. This is called sketching, just like in your portrait. You fix it as you go because you draw nice and light. The petals are the most important thing for me to observe. The shape of these petals. They're longer than the football shape that we were talking about before. And I'm gonna draw them along the bottom of my UFO because that's what it looks like to me. They always connect to the center of the flower because that's how petals grow. And I'm filling in the space. My point starts at the center of the flower and it ends at the bottom of the shape that I drew. And I'm going to erase this line because that was just a guideline for me. And you can see this artist added shading or a little bit darker in the center. I'm not going to color in with my pencil. I'm going to be coloring in with something else. So for now, I'll just add a few little lines to remind me. This stem is straight, 2 lines for the stem, and these are pointy and long. And I'm not going to see them all. You can see they go right off my shape. Let's do one more flower on the other side. Ooh, how about a lily? Well, that's a weird thing to start with. The center of the flower. This is like a tiger lily, and they start with little lines. That's where the pollen comes from. And then I'm going to draw the petals around it. Mine would go right off the page because I ran out of space. I'm doing something called overlapping. When I bump up against the flower I already had drawn, I'm not going to draw anymore. It'll look like it goes behind it. In fact, that's one of the biggest tricks with drawing a flower. You want to show overlapping from the front petals to the back. Tiger lilies have stripes on the petals. And you can see I'm curving them along with the shape of the petal to make it look like it's not flat. Its stem is gonna hide behind my Calla Lily. So I've got a lot of leaves to draw here. I've got a lot of things to outline and color in. But look at my finished artwork. I'm ready to add color to my flowers. You can choose more than one flower like I did, or just one. You can practice first. I'm going to go over my lines with black so that they stand out before I add color. Practice first, but the point of this artwork, the point of this project is to draw flowers to show appreciation for someone in our life.